Let's start with Jerod Mayo. Doug Peterson gets fired in Philadelphia. Now they're looking for a coach. And the latest out of Philly is Jerod Mayo might actually be not only on the list, but rather high up the list.
Oh, has that changed to high up the list?
Well, I mean, I think they've only announced what, 3 or 4 guys. So I mean, he's got to be
Yeah.
this early in the process. I'm just taking it that they've got to really like him to bring him in so early.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways that I read this. Number one, and we've talked about this before, because I think in Houston, an article surfaced on Mayo very early after the season in their interview process. Even though he hasn't been interviewed yet, you would expect with Caserio and Easterby there, if Mayo is a serious head coach candidate this time around, that he would be brought in. But then again, that would probably send people in Houston walking into the ocean there head first, another Patriots person. But Mayo being brought in this early in Philly, look, he could be a serious candidate. I'm not going to totally rule that out. If he is a serious candidate, then it's because Howie Roseman is seeking a puppet head coach, which is really why he's looking for another head coach. Is both him, Jeffrey Lurie, and Howie Roseman, the GM, meddle in everything football wise. Like they made Doug Peterson fire offensive coordinators last year. I think it was Groh's kid, Mike Groh. And this year, Doug Peterson came to them and said basically his offensive plan, and I don't disagree with Roseman and Lurie with this, is that he was basically going to promote from within on his staff. And, Lurie and Roseman were just basically it's Lurie as far as offense, because he wants innovative offense. He wants this and that. And for Doug to come back and say, well, we're just going to go with the status quo, that wasn't going to go over well. And that's part of the problem. I mean, in most places, the ownership does not have that kind of influence as far as coaching staff. You hire the coach, they get to hire the coaches. Period. End of discussion. If you want to fire the coach, the head coach, fire the head coach. And so that job is sort of looked at as a sort of joke around the league at this point. I mean, if you're a head coach candidate with any type of sway, any type of power, you're like, I'm not going there to have some owner and some, pencil neck salary cap pusher tell me who's going to be on my staff. And so that Mayo's in there or on the list tells me that they're looking for a sort of, a guy who will do what they say. And I think you'll see a lot of candidates like that. But really in my gut, Nick, what I think this is Roseman went to some sort of coach agent and said, we want to talk to your guy, X. I don't know who it is. Some sort of hotshot guy. And he's like, okay, that's fine. We'll do that. But first you got to talk to my guy, Mayo, to get him on the list, get him on the radar, get people talking about him. And they're like, sure, yeah, we'll do a Zoom call with him or whatever. We'll have him down. Yeah, we'll do that as long as we get to talk to your guy and you don't commit to any other jobs while we're doing that. And they say, okay, that kind of stuff goes on all the time. Do I know that it's going on here with Mayo? No. Will we ever know? Probably not. But just from my experience in the league, that's what this smells like.
That Mayo stuff is just strange to me. Like I never even thought about him being a prospective head coach this offseason.
He's been a coach for 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, the guy's been coaching for a couple of years, and now all of a sudden he's getting mentioned. I mean, how long did Vrabel coach in college as an assistant? Was he there for 2 or 3 years before he got the bump? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, he was there too. I want to say he was at Ohio State and maybe someplace else for like 2 or 3 years. And then even in Houston, he was like linebackers coach. Yeah. And he was only a defensive coordinator, I think, for 1 year in Houston. But he was on the staff there for a while with O'Brien.
Yeah, and it feels like Vrabel was kind of fast-tracked. So if Vrabel was fast-tracked,
yeah.
Imagine Mayo if he gets a head coaching. I just can't see it. Again, I'm thinking that he was high atop the list to bring guys in early. I don't know if they're looking at it and saying, oh, yeah, he's a favorite to get this job. I'm also not the biggest fan of Doug Peterson. I'm really not. I saw a lot of
Yeah.
people tweeting about how good he was and, oh, he won a Super Bowl. Tell me what he's done since Frank Reich left. Since Frank
Yep.
Reich left, that offense has not been nearly as good as it was when it played against the Patriots. I mean, I think you look back at that Eagles team, and it sucks for Patriots fans, and of course the Malcolm Butler conversation, et cetera, et cetera. But you look back at that Eagles team, it really feels like, hey, flash in the pan. They were able to get lightning in a bottle with Reich and Peterson that year, and things fell perfect, and Foles played out of his mind. It really seems like that Eagles team will go, down in history as like one of those one and dones, and then everybody else kind of just declined after that.